Dating beyond 30 is strange. You're too old for the seduction games, yet too young to quit. That's when I tried a local dating app recommended by a friend of mine. I matched with a 29-year-old girl named Claire. She was a brunette with big green eyes and a charming smile. We met at this charming, small cocktail bar down the block. At first, I assumed it would be awkward, like every previous date I'd been on. But Claire, well, let's just say she seemed different. When I got in, she was already waiting for me at the table, dressed in this cute red skirt paired with a white tank top. She smiled, and I smiled back. We hit it off instantly. She was smart and witty and made good jokes instead of boring small talk. And she listened. What more can a man ask for, right? After a couple of drinks, I asked if she wanted to return to my apartment. She did not hesitate. I live alone in a decent flat on the top floor with an open layout. When we entered, she complimented the artwork, lighting, and even my playlist. But then she glanced at my bookshelves, which were mostly empty other than a handful of books.
You don't collect Labubu?
The what?
Labubu. The designer toys? You've never seen them?
She got out her phone and showed me her wallpaper. It was of a wide-eyed, sharp-toothed small creature that resembled a hybrid between a rabbit and a goblin. She then started scrolling her album and showed me photo after photo of glass cases loaded with toys. They were of various colors, sizes, and expressions. Some were smiling while others were snarling.
I have over 70, and each one is unique.
I tried not to laugh. Unique? And these things? Honestly, they resemble devil rabbits. Probably the creepiest toys I've ever seen. Suddenly, her smile faded, her eyebrows furrowed, as if I had deeply offended her.
They're gorgeous. Simply don't get it.
I shrugged and thought the best way to diffuse the situation would be to play cool. Okay, sure. To each their own. She stared at me for a second, and I could sense something had changed in her. She was no more the person she was last hour.
How can you not like them?
She inquired, as if she was giving me a second chance to rethink. I chuckled. Honestly, if I ever saw one of those in my house, I'd probably burn it. That was the exact moment when everything went awry. Her expression went blank, her pupils dilated, making her eyes scarier. She stood up slowly and walked to my kitchen counter without saying anything. I watched her pick up the sharp knife that I had left out while cutting limes earlier. I laughed nervously. Okay, are you doing something right now? 'Cause she shushed me, putting the knife on her lips.
I brought you one.
She whispered. What? She dug into her large tote bag and took out a miniature Labubu figure, jet black with scarlet eyes. She placed it on the counter, close to the knife.
I wanted him to meet you.
I felt my chest tightening. Okay, Claire, enough of your jokes. Put the knife down. She did not move. Her eyes twitched like she was trying too hard to control herself. Then, in a low, shaking voice, she spoke.
He heard what you said. You should apologize.
I backed up, totally furious now. I'm not apologizing to some crappy toy. Just Miss Psycho is obsessed with it. My phone was on the couch about 10 feet away. I tried to remain cool. Look, it's late. You should probably leave. She suddenly lunged. I was ready to dodge, but she sliced my arm open and then started screaming about how I should apologize to her Labubu. I lurched backward, nearly tripping over the coffee table. I grabbed my phone and locked myself in the bathroom. I stood against the door while she kept kicking and banging on it like some maniac. I dialed 911. My hands were shaking. I informed them that a woman I had brought home was having a breakdown and that I was concerned for my safety. She stopped banging after about a minute, but I did not open the door. I pushed my ear against the wood and listened. I heard whispers. Her voice indicated that she was speaking to someone. She had stopped yelling or screaming, just whispering. It was terrible. 10 minutes later, 2 police officers arrived. As they got in, I opened the bathroom door just enough and pointed them at Claire, who was now sitting on the couch, clutching the Labubu to her chest like it was her forever treasure. The officers warned her, and then one of them cuffed her. She was bleeding from her hands from thumping on the washroom door too hard. There was cotton everywhere on the couch as she angrily stabbed the pillows. When the cops were taking her away, she kept yelling,
"How could anyone hate Labubu?"
Her voice echoed in the corridor, louder than it should have been. I came out of the washroom and watched her leave. She did not look at me once. It was 3 weeks ago. The cops later informed me that Claire had no criminal record. She is clean, but she was a member of online forums with obsessive fan clubs that treated these toys like living entities. They believed she needed psychiatric evaluation. Claire said, in her defense, that the Labubu line became her new purpose. They told me I could press charges against her, but I didn't. I knew they would send her to some mental institution anyway, so what's the point in making things harder for her? After all, she is sick, because any obsession that erases your sense of reasoning is a medical problem. I haven't heard from her since. I just hope she gets all the help she needs. And to all the Labubu fans out there, you guys better stay away from me. This happened last Saturday. I had just finished my first 2 weeks of college, and my roommate Liv was determined to drag me to my first frat party. I didn't want to go. I barely knew anyone on campus, and the idea of being surrounded by drunk strangers didn't exactly thrill me. But Liv had a way of convincing people. By 9:00 p.m., I was standing outside the Alpha Beta frat house, wearing one of her tops, trying not to look completely out of place. The party was loud and chaotic and smelled like spilled beer and sweat. Music blasted from massive speakers in the backyard. People were dancing, laughing, and playing beer pong. I stood near the edge of the crowd, clutching a warm solo cup of jungle juice, pretending to text someone, when I saw this guy sitting alone from the crowd. He was dressed in a green hoodie with hands in his lap and dangling his feet in the pool. While everyone else was trying to show off or hook up, he just sat there, watching. I don't know what compelled me to walk over. Maybe it was boredom. Maybe it was curiosity.
Mind if I sit here?
He nodded. Sure. He said his name was Mason. He was an art major and said he didn't really like parties, but came for the energy. There was something about him, calm yet uncomfortable. We talked about movies, tattoos, and the absurdity of frat life. He wasn't like the other guys here, so I let my guard down. And that was a huge mistake. Midway through our conversation, he rolled up the sleeve of his hoodie. Check this out, he said. It was a tattoo on his forearm, a creature, big round eyes, sharp teeth, tiny ears. It looked like a demonic rabbit, cartoonish but disturbing. This is Labubu, he said, touching the ink gently. I collect them, every version. We're kind of like soulmates. I tried laughing, thinking he was joking, but soon realized he was being dead serious.
Oh, aren't those like creepy kid toys?
He still didn't laugh. They're misunderstood. People make fun of them just to act cool. I gave an awkward chuckle and stood up.
Anyway, I should find Liv.
His eyes followed me as I walked away, but he didn't say anything. By midnight, the party was dying down. Liv had disappeared with some guy, and I didn't feel like waiting around. My dorm was only a 10-minute walk, and I figured I'd be fine. I put in one earbud and started heading back. It was a quiet night, empty sidewalks, soft breeze, no traffic. I remember thinking how peaceful it was. In that moment, I told myself that college might turn out to be fun. But all of a sudden, I began feeling nervous. I stopped the music and heard footsteps. Someone was walking behind me. At first, I didn't think much of it. Probably just another student heading home. But the steps didn't fade. Instead, they matched mine. When I slowed, they slowed. When I stopped, they stopped as well. I turned around. Under a streetlight, maybe 20 feet back, stood Mason. He was wearing the same hoodie, His arms were stiff at his sides. His head was slightly tilted. I blinked.
Mason?
He didn't speak a word, just smiled. Something about his smile made me fear for my life. He then jerked his left shoulder twice and started chanting something. It took me a moment to hear exactly what he was saying. I listened carefully and heard him saying, "Labubu." He spoke like a toddler who just learned to talk. "Labubu." My stomach dropped.
What do you want?
I screamed while stepping back in caution. His footsteps picked up behind me. "You made Labubu sad," he called out. I didn't waste a second more. I turned and started sprinting. I could hear him chasing me. His steps weren't even footsteps anymore. They were loud, heavy thuds, like someone running unevenly or low to the ground. He was screaming that I offended him by insulting his soulmate. My dorm was a block away. I ran across the lawn, fumbling with my keycard. I slammed on the door and swiped my keycard. At the first try, the reader flashed red. Mason was inches away. With shaking hands, I swiped again, and finally, it turned green. I yanked the door open and slammed it behind me, locking it just as his footsteps reached the pavement. He was standing right outside. I could see him through the glass on the door. His breathing was heavy and ragged. His face was blank, but his eyes looked evil. He leaned close to the door and whispered, "You made Labubu sad. You shouldn't have." I backed away, heart thudding. I grabbed my phone and called campus security. They arrived 10 minutes later, but Mason had left by then. I complained to the authority who checked on him, but that freak lied to their face, saying he never even met me. Since there was no evidence, no actions were taken against him. I thought maybe that would be the end of it. The next day at around 3 a.m. in the morning, I heard something slide across the floor. I sat up. There was an envelope on the ground. Someone had pushed it under my door. There was a photo of me in it, taken earlier that night, sitting by the pool next to Mason. In the bottom corner, written in red ink, were the words, "Labubu remembers." My hands started shaking. I threw the picture away and double-checked the lock again. I barely slept. When the sun came up, I packed a bag and went straight to Liv's dorm to stay there for a few days. But this morning, just as I was leaving, I went back to my room to grab my laptop, and I almost screamed when I entered my room. There was a pink Labubu toy sitting on my pillow. Its wide eyes stared directly at me, its jagged teeth stretched in a grin that felt too real. I threw it in the dumpster and changed my dorm. I don't know what Mason wants. I don't know if he's going to make my life miserable now, but I do know one thing. I should have never laughed at Labubu. Grief makes people do strange things. It had been 3 weeks since we lost our baby. One moment, we were excited first-time parents. The next, we were sitting in a sterile hospital room under fluorescent lights, while a doctor gave us the worst news of our lives. My wife, Madison, sat there, not crying, just breathing heavily. She changed a lot after that. Most of the time, she wouldn't get out of bed. She would hardly eat or talk. I watched my wife slip into this fog I couldn't pull her from. I tried everything, cooking her favorite meals, playing the music she used to love, and even reading aloud from the baby books we hadn't had the heart to throw away. Nothing worked. Until I brought home a blue Labubu toy. Madison jokingly said that we'd put it on a shelf in our kids' room and say it was their watchdog. So I bought it off a reseller and gave it to her in the morning. Suddenly, her face lit up like she came back to reality. She held it in her arms and hugged it to her chest like it was alive. It seemed like the toy filled this huge void in her. At first, I was relieved. Anything was better than the blank stare she'd been giving me, but over the next several hours, the comfort turned into something much worse. Madison wrapped the Labubu in a tiny blue blanket. In the afternoon, I watched Madison spoon-feed the Labubu applesauce. By evening, she had placed it in the crib that was meant for our child. I couldn't stand it anymore. "That's not a real child, Madison. It's just a toy." She turned her face at me, and for the first time, I felt scared of my wife. They were bloodshot and filled with disdain.
Don't talk like that around our son.
I froze. "Maddie, that's not our son. Our son is—"
Stop!
Her lips trembled, and for a moment I thought she was about to cry, but then her face twisted into rage.
You're just like them. They said he was gone, but I can still feel him.
Her breathing was getting rapid, and I feared she might do something hurtful, so I didn't push it further. I told myself it was the grief talks, that it would pass, that sleep would help. I was wrong. That night, I woke up to an empty bed. Madison's creepy lullaby was echoing all around the house. I followed her voice and found her in the nursery. She was patting Labubu like she was putting a baby to sleep. She even rocked it in her arms while continuing the lullabies. The atmosphere dropped down as I felt a cold shiver in my spine. The next day, things got out of hand. I could hear Madison talking to the Labubu in a hushed tone, like she didn't want me to hear her.
You don't have to cry. Daddy will hold you soon. I promise.
Daddy? I'm no daddy to some creepy-ass toy. I tried to stop the madness. I tried to take it away from her. "Maddie, give me the toy." The second I reached for it, she screamed. She scratched my face and we knocked over the crib in the process. Her gaze changed immediately. She pointed at me, going full psychotic, and yelled,
You're trying to kill him again!
I backed away in shock. I should have called someone. I know that now. However, a part of me still believed that I could resolve the situation. So I waited for the night to fall. She calmed down by late afternoon. We didn't speak much. She sat in the rocking chair with the toy wrapped in the baby blanket, humming something under her breath. By 10 p.m., I was exhausted. I lay down and eventually drifted off. When I opened my eyes again, I couldn't move. My wrists and ankles were tied to the bed frame with strips of baby clothes, and Madison was standing right next to me holding a scalpel. I'd kept it in the emergency baby kit for cutting tags, medical tape, things like that. I'd forgotten it even existed. She leaned down and placed the Labubu on my chest. It sat there, tiny and motionless, staring up at me with those wide red eyes and razor teeth.
What kind of dad are you? Your son has been crying for you all night.
Madison, please! Her hands trembled as she raised the scalpel.
I'll untie you. If you kiss him.
I saw one small window of opportunity and took it. I agreed. Madison smiled big once I said yes to her madness. She set me free, and together we sat on the floor rocking and kissing the Labubu like it was our child. I watched her laugh, cry, and then laugh again. It was terrifying and painful at the same time. I made no wrong move until she got up, saying she needed to put our son in bed. The moment she left the room, I called the paramedics. I watched them take away my wife for psychiatric evaluation. She became frantic after being separated from the toy in the hospital. They had to sedate her because she was kicking and biting everyone who came near her. After extensive consultations, the doctors suggested taking her to a mental facility in Florida because her violent behavior was increasing rapidly. It's been 2 weeks. She's still at the facility. I visit her every week, but she rarely acknowledges me. The doctors say she's detached from reality, believes the toy is the baby we lost. They gave me her things in a cardboard box. I haven't opened it yet, but I know what's inside, that twisted little toy. Every night, I swear I hear something scratching inside the closet, but maybe that's just in my head.